Welcome back, guys. We've got League of Inches and round two preview, a little bit of round one review as well. And tell you what, it's good to have the footy back. Watching basically every single game. I was at the Broncos Eels game, and it was just great to be back at some live footy and talking to just randoms about footy. It's brilliant. And look, there's only two of us today. It's the OGs, which if you've followed us for a while now, you know we were the OGs that started this up. And there's a couple of injured. We've got a couple early injuries, like there's been in the NRL last weekend. And look, I could say that Jason and Josh are out celebrating a Dogs victory, but obviously I can't. Dane hasn't been seen since the Roosters victory on the weekend, so I'm not too sure where he is, what he's doing, but yeah, he's out partying somewhere still. So for him, they've won the comp. He's gone. This MIA. But Sid, what do you think of the Roosters? It's good to have you, the OG brother. What do you think of the games over the weekend?
Yeah, it's super psyched. It's footy's back on. I watched pretty much every game, much to the anger of my wife, but she couldn't believe it, and I said it's the first round, so it's going to be a long winter for her. But yeah, and as far as the Roosters, mate, so impressive. I try to watch games, objectively, let's say, and impartially, and try not to hate teams or whatever. Got better at it as the Dragons have gotten worse because I love footy. I love the game, so I'll watch pretty much every game. And yeah, Roosters were very impressive. Having said that, I mean, I know Manly, their last trial, they were saying that they didn't have their full squad. They got 50 odd put on them by Tigers, and then they've gotten 40 odd put on them by the Roosters. I mean, red hot Roosters, but Manly weren't that impressive. They look like they're going to have a long season ahead of them as well. But take nothing away from the Roosters, they were impressive. In fact, as good as 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was a scary thing. We will touch back on the Roosters a little bit later in the video, but look, obviously the weekly weapon award, so weapon of the week, and for mine, I'm just giving it to overall the fullbacks, which for mine, led by your Tedesco's and your Pappenhausens, for mine have gone to another level already. I thought it was going to be pretty much impossible for them to do it, but I was even watching Gutho on the Friday night, and just the work that these classy fullbacks do on and off the ball, it's just ridiculous. And how fast the game is moving now. They've got to be everywhere. The fitness is right up there with, I know they always say AFL players are fitter than NRL players, but I think with the way the game's going, I think that's changed. I think they're matching that fitness level. But Sid, what's your thoughts on the fullbacks? Are they taking your breath away like they're taking mine?
Yeah, for sure, man. These lightning play the balls that are happening with the 6 again rulings, and the fullbacks are playing instinct football, which is great. So you're seeing a lot of tries and a lot of good play from set pieces, but you're also seeing a lot of ad-lib plays. Probably a highlight, if you bring up Pappenhausen, was at least two tries from their own end. There was heads-up football, and meaning they were doing hit-ups, they were getting bashed, and then they threw it too wide, gave it to Munster, who threw a Hail Mary pass out to his winger, who got down the line, and all of a sudden they made a break. So they went from making 20-odd metres in 4 tackles or 3 tackles or whatever it was to scoring a try. And it's just, and obviously Pappenhausen was heavily involved. Teddy was just everywhere. He's back to a full strength. I still think he wasn't as good as he was last year. Still think he wasn't at. Something happened. I don't know. Maybe he had a disrupted pre-season with the COVID and all that sort of thing. But he's back to his brilliant best, and he's just so good. Lucky I had him on captain on Supercoach. He got me 312 or something like that. That's ridiculous. I have 5, 6 other players that didn't get that. Collectively.
I'm glad head-to-head hasn't started yet, because I didn't. I had Cleary captain, which still wasn't too bad, but obviously it wasn't the Tedesco points. So, but what about round one? We're talking about round one, and just quickly, what team impressed you out of all the games? What was the one team that stood out to you last week?
Oh man, we've already talked about them. I would say I'll give it to Melbourne. As much as they annoy me, they just won't go away. They just won't have a quiet year or two so other teams can fight for the title. I'll give it to Melbourne because the quality of the opposition, the form of the opposition. They just blew South away at the start. They love a good start, Melbourne, because once they get that big lead, they start grinding and accidentally hanging on to players and play the ball and all. They're just so good at owning the ruck. There were hardly any 6 against Melbourne. They're just so good. Bellamy, he's a master, mate.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to go a bit of a different one here. I'm actually going to say the Warriors, more so because of how well they completed and how well they defended, which is not something you can normally say about a Warriors team. And for mine, that shows they're very tight as a team, and they're actually listening to their coach and they want to play for their coach, which for a Warriors outfit hasn't been there for probably 15 odd years. If I was a Warriors fan, I'm very, very excited now about the year. I didn't have them in the 8. After that performance, I've got them in the 8. So that's how I feel about it. And I don't know what you think, Sid, but yeah, for mine, they're in the 8.
Well, I tipped the Titans, and I was waiting for them to do something. They look like a team of strangers, the Titans, and couple that with a few early errors. And the Warriors look like, on the other hand, that Nathan Brown had said to them, guys, we're just going to play our sets, just keep sticking to what we're good at, which is up the middle, our big men, Warriors are all known for, ever since they came in the comp, they have these big boys, one big boy after another, and if they get a young bloke in, he's just as big, it didn't matter. So, and it was reflective of that because all 3 tries were from forwards up the middle. So they didn't overcomplicate their game plans. There was no sweeping moves, backline moves or whatever. They played to their strength and they held the ball, and it was quite impressive, and so it was pretty good. Yeah, good start.
That's credit to Nathan Brown, which for mine got treated unfairly at the Knights. I think how that ended was pretty poor on the Knights' behalf, but the Warriors and the Titans, if you look at their off season, they both were the biggest players in probably the player market. So they both had. You can't say that they both needed time to go. The Warriors have obviously done that in the season, which is a huge credit to Nathan Brown and how he gets his teams prepared. And the Warriors, for mine, with obviously the help of Phil Gould, look really, really impressive. But look, there was another thing that popped up this week, and I know you've probably heard it. It was the Toby Rudolph situation, which I've already done a video about and I've already uploaded and had a chat about, and I've shown my views. I wanted to get all the boys and get their take on it, which obviously now you're the only lad left here on that video. But what do you think? What do you make of this whole situation?
Okay, my view is slightly different to and I watched your video with interest, what you said. Now, my view is that the guy's obviously joking, whatever else. But what I want to know is, what is the big secret of an Australian guy here? This is our culture. Go out, he's single, he's young, go out, have a few beers, and try and talk to some girls. What is wrong with that? I don't understand what's wrong with that. Are we not allowed to? Is it a big secret? So I know you said that he didn't actually say, try and pull whatever and anything will do, as he actually didn't say girls. That's not disrespecting girls. Girls go out to meet people too. That's how humans work. That's how young single people work. As long as he's not roofing anyone or, he's not, sexually harassing anyone. If the girl's interested, great. And then they talk, and that's how relationships are formed. I don't understand what this is so the fuss about. And then NRL came out and did a statement. Oh, boo-hoo, he said that he will have a drink and go try to pick up some girls. Like, I mean, he said 1,000 beers, but everyone exaggerates. But we're talking about drinking responsibly, and I'm all for that. All right, drinking in moderation. But the NRL are a bunch of hypocrites in that sense. Well, let me tell you, because you watch footy at halftime, it's drinking, then TAB, then sports bet, then then another beer, then scotch, then Jack Daniels, then TAB, and then Keno, and then Really? You
Oh,
know, it's our culture. It's fine. He's not saying I'm going to rape someone. He's saying I'm going to go have a few drinks because I earned it, because the beer's so much nicer after a game of footy. And you know, I'm going to try and talk to girls, which is the age-old thing. You know, we've been doing it forever. It's fine. You know, that's it. I'm done. Look, that's it.
I
What do you
don't
think?
want to say too much more. I've said my piece, and if you haven't watched it already, go watch the video I'll put up. But I just think it's a massive G up. It is just a certain small minority. And I've said this in a comment today, and I'll quickly go on record to say it. The NRL's problem, and it's been their problem for about 10 years, they keep trying to appeal to a demographic or a group of people who will not follow rugby league. Yet they keep trying to get this small percentage of people to follow it. It's not going to happen. Stop trying to appeal the game to it and appeal to your long-suffering fans who have been with the game from day dot, and let them take what they need and enjoy the game. You're shutting the game away and making people who have been fans of the game for 50 odd years switch off because of the way they're now carrying on, yet they're not bringing any new customers in. So I don't get where their business model's at the moment, but for mine, they're losing touch of what rugby league is all about. And if they lose that touch, the old-fashioned way of league, they're going to lose a hell of a lot more fans than they already have. But look, enough of that, because if we keep talking about it, I know we'll both just get fired up and the video will just be on this situation, which we don't want it to be. Let's look at some footy. And obviously tomorrow night, Thursday night, we've got a top four clash for two big teams. So you've got the Eels and the Storm. First game at Bankwest. What do you like? What are you looking at for this game? Where are you seeing it? Who's your tip?
I'd like to say the Storm. I mean, you described it perfectly. Storm had a great first half. Eels, you know, regrouped and had a great second half. If they can carry that second half on, we're looking at a blockbuster, because Storm, as we earlier alluded to, a great start. They love their early starts. They love their fast starts and their pet plays and their little things that get them all of a sudden getting the opposition going backwards and scrambling. And then they do serious damage with their strike weapons. You know. Look, yeah, I'd love to say the Eels, but I think Storm, unfortunately, will probably edge them out in this one.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I will tip the Storm, even though I'm a paratragic. I've got to be professional in these videos. Thank you, people. But there is a way Para can win this. I think if we can stay within that first 20 and really improve on our start, which was horrible. For mine, our bench is superior to the Melbourne Storm. And if we can then let the Papali'is, and we've got Nikora back, they both provide massive punch off the bench. And we can take control of that 30 to 60-minute spell tomorrow night. We can go a long way to winning the game. But it is Melbourne. They're a red-hot team. They just get better and better no matter who they lose. So the Storm are my tip there. Warriors Knights. For mine, this is probably the hardest game to tip of the week. I've personally gone the Warriors just off the form that I've seen. I think they showed me a bit more than the Knights did, even though the Knights did win. I don't think the Dogs were too crash hot first round. What's your tip?
Now, I would lean towards the Warriors, but I will say this. I think this will be an interesting indicator of whether we have, in fact, a new Warriors. And I know it's hard, you know. We talked before we started recording about how long it takes to change habits, especially with young men. You know, and the old Warriors are inconsistent at the best of times, aside from that second half of last year when Todd Payton had them running through brick walls, you know, brilliantly. You know, great. You know, he did a great job as a caretaker. But be interested to see if they bring it again this week. I will lean towards the Warriors. Yeah, I would have to say the Warriors in a close one.
Titans Broncos. So the first Queensland rivalry game of the year. Both coming off losses. We'll both want to go back straight into the winners book. And both probably want to prove they're the number one team in Queensland at the moment. So who you got for this one?
I think this is a danger game for Titans. I think they're a better side with a better coach at the moment. If it's good conditions and Titans get the rev up they need after last week, after not really turning up the first half and then paying for it in the end, then Titans could be. I'm edging Titans. I don't like doing that because I have a feeling Broncos can pip them. You called the last game the hard one. I think this is the hardest game for me. I'd say Titans in a very close one.
You talked about the conditions. I can tell you right now, being on the Gold Coast, it's not good, and it's not going to be good for a few days. It's going to be consistent rain, so I think there's going to be a pretty wet weather game up here. Look, for mine, Titans, this is a danger game. You did mention it, more so because of, for a fan's point of view. Now, they've been hyped up this year, which hasn't happened for the Gold Coast for probably 10 years. Back in about 2010, they were hyped up when they had the Princes and Campbells, things like that. If they go 0-2, that's not going to sit very well. There's going to be straight away, Titans are crap, blah, blah, blah. They can't do it. Now, I predicted at the start of the year they needed to give the Titans a bit of time to gel with so many new recruits in the team and so many young players in the team. The Broncos, for mine, look hungrier. They started very well against, obviously, a team that's supposed to be around the top 4. I think the Titans have to win this. I know it's pretty silly to say in round 2, but for mine, the Titans have to win this and really set their season up. So I'll be tipping the Titans. Dogs v Penrith. What do you? I don't think many are giving Dogs a chance. I don't want to laugh. I just think about Josh and Jason being in this video right now and their reaction. But why do you think Penrith will win?
Look, they're too well organised. They got a halfback that really, really runs the show. I hate that term. I've told you before that's his team, but he's probably one of the rare halfbacks. It actually is his team, and it's not his team because the coach said, "Oh, it's your team. You're allowed to yell at everyone." You know what I mean? He's earned it, and he does it. They've got great balance. Yeah, Cleary. Yeah. He's the only one. And yeah, they've got great balance right across the park. They've got a good system, a core system. If it's in a grind, they can grind for 15, 20 minutes at a time, get a try, grind for another 15, 20 minutes, get a try, and they're quite solid in defence and can control the ruck quite well. So the Dogs will try, but it'll be very similar. Last week they won 24-0. It'll be like, that sort of game. Not a blowout, not a massive blowout, but a comfortable victory at the same time, I think.
Look, I did say at the start, before the game started, I thought the Dogs were the most overhyped team for this year. I didn't think they quite had the quality there to be where people were saying they were going to finish. I think the weekend's game showed that. But I'll give credit to Flanagan. He's exactly what they need. He was stood up on the weekend, even when they were getting beaten quite badly, especially in the forwards. And he really tried to do something which they haven't had for a long time. They're at the Dogs in their halves. Their halves don't step up and really try and take the game on and control it. So I'll give him credit there. But Penrith by about 20-odd, I'm the same as you. I think they're just too classy. They're not in top gear yet, but they're doing enough to just be like, yep, we'll get this win up here and go from there. Well, another game where I'm just going to ask you, Rabbitohs by how many? Manly versus South Sydney.
Okay, now this, on the other hand, I know already there's been talks. I saw an interview, a sincere interview, let's say, with Dylan Walker. He looked really upset about the first game, and he said, just not good enough for our club, for our the players, the culture, the coach, what he expects. We just didn't turn up. And he looked actually upset. For me, I would say that the effort will improve, but effort alone doesn't win you anything. It doesn't win you championship. Sure as hell doesn't win you football games. They'll try. Souths, I can't see Souths losing 2 games in a row. They've played, a world-class team in the Storm in every aspect. And, we don't have to go into that. I think they'll just have too many points in them for Manly. It'd be like 40 something to 12 or 10 or something like that. Manly will try and go with them, but they just don't have enough. As I said, it's going to be a long season for Manly.
I don't want to go in too much of this game in too much detail, but I want to ask you one question about this side. And this is talking about Manly. And I watched them on the weekend, and for mine, they've got a superstar in the making. I hate using the word, but for mine, I think he's going to be in Schuster. And they've just signed 4, and obviously to come back to the club and get all history written and everything. But for mine, 4 looked broken after about 15, 20 minutes. Unfortunately for me, his body is just not up to where his mind wants to be at anymore. And that's nothing against him. That's how he's played his footy, and his body's caught up to him. If I'm Des Hasler and I'm Manly, I look at that side and I go, we need new young players in this team. We need our Cade Cuss. We need our Schusters who bring some energy, especially when we're missing Turbo. Do you agree with this, or are you happy with 4 in there at the moment?
Foreign reminds me of an aging boxer that's, slugging it out just for the paycheck or whatever. Be third, fourth round in, trading blows, getting rocked, and he's thinking, what am I doing? Why am I still doing
versus Rafa the other night.
Yeah, look, go home, see your family, man. Look, your kids don't want to brain damage dad, you know what I mean? It's actually sad to watch. I do agree. We've given 4 a hard time, and we try to respect players. We don't do banter. We don't be smart asses or anything. But we've given 4 a hard time purely because he was on ridiculous dollars at Bulldogs. I'm sure he's on a very low contract now. And Manly thought they can get some value out of him, at least as a mentor for the young blokes. But 100%, I agree. That's just a kid. To be honest, I haven't seen much of him, but I did hear the commentators, sing his praises throughout at various stages in the game. I did watch Cuss, and I watched Cuss closely last year as well. He actually played number 9 in the state league. It was on Foxtel.
Very well.
Okay. Yeah, and he played well. He got a try out of dummy half. He looks like a good. I still think he's a 6, but I could see why he would play line 9. He's definitely got the shoulders for it and a tackling technique. And he's got the ball skills. A crafty player. Those are just 2. I'm sure they have more young blokes waiting in the wings.
They just need more attack for mine. They've got too many players who, like, you look at Croker at 9. He's not a 9. And he doesn't have the attacking ability to be dangerous. So if I'm opposition, like South Sydney this weekend, I know their go-to isn't Foran, isn't the hooker, Croker. It's going to Cherry Evans. Everything will be Cherry Evans. So I'm going to be just hampering him all day because I know that's exactly where the ball's going for any attacking raids that they need to do. This is why they need to have some bit more attacking young personalities in the team that like to do something with the ball, like your Cuss and things like that. But enough of that team. I'm saying South by about 30. I think there's a real danger sign there at Manly at the moment, and they're too reliant on Turbo, which is a real big worry for that club. Cowboys versus the Dragons. Obviously, we'll get a bit from you for your Dragons and how you guys went on the weekend, and looking forward to this weekend. For mine, I'm going to quickly say it, a danger game for you guys in terms of I don't want to be versing Taumalolo after he's just been given the rev up that he has been given. I think that's a danger man at his worst. So where are you thinking this game is going to be won and lost, and what do you make of your Dragons outfit last weekend?
Okay, so where it's going to be won and lost, definitely the middle, because we've got some players that can ask some questions out wide. With Duffy, Lomax, now Cody Ramsey, Ravalawa's starting to look like Sivo now. People forget Ravalawa's only 20 years old, and he's put on about 5 kilos. So he's even stronger this year and hasn't lost a microsecond of pace. So we've definitely got some game breakers out wide. The issues the forwards in the middle now. Paul Vaughan played quite well. Sims tried to lift his team. I think we have, and this is a problem it's a roster problem. That's going to take a while to fix. But we have a lot of the no frills types, but not enough of the forwards that can send defenders flying. Guys like Blake Lowry and I think Daniel Alvaro, they're the same player. I don't know why we bought him, maybe because he's cheap and we've got cap issues, whatever. I don't know. Well, that's all that was available. Um, but yeah, definitely in the forwards, the Cowboys are stronger. They do have an aging, I think, let's say an age. Oh, they did rotate a few players, but there's a couple of guys out the backs that maybe need some refreshing. Michael Morgan, I don't know. He's just a name now. They keep banging on about what he did 5-6 years ago, whatever it is. I haven't seen much from him in a long time. Now, as far as the Dragons last week, we talked about it. I thought the first set in attack, every hit up, our forwards were getting put on their backside very early in the game, and in defence we're all right, but we had no go forward. In the second half, the reason we came back into it was they played around the ruck. They started the sets with dummy half fronts rather than hit ups, and got some speed, and then got the hit ups going, and that was good. And as we also talked about, they got their hearts broken from that try. The Cody Ramsey try that was given, they're setting up for the kick, and they go, no, it's not a try. We won't go into that. Bunker screws over every team. I'm not going to say it's just us, It was a silly decision, and everyone seems to know it's wrong after the game, but it's too late. But after that, it sort of broke our spirit, and then Sharks scored a couple of tries at the end to make the scoreline look worse.
Who are you tipping?
Oh, man, up there. Look, I think we're gonna, unbiased opinion, I think we're gonna go well. We're gonna go even better than last weekend's Sharks, but I think they'll beat us, by about 6 or 10 points, something like that. I think the Cowboys.
There's 2 points you made that I want to quickly touch on. I am tipping the Cowboys as well in a close one, more so because of the patent effect of his blasted his top man, and I think he will get a response. It's the smart coaching he's made, and I applaud him for it. A lot of people wouldn't be brave enough to do that in public in a press conference. My other point that I really enjoyed that you did make is about the Michael Morgan situation, and I'm with you. I do like Morgan. I rate him as a player, but he hasn't done anything since 2017, to be brutally honest. And he's taking a lot of that cap space at the moment for him. And he needs to really prove something this year and lead that team. They've got too many youngsters around him to not have someone there barking and leading. He needs to be the JT figure that he had. So he had Thurston there next to him. He now needs to be Thurston for someone else. A quick one. We obviously ran the rumour today on the page about Norman being his last game, and the Dragons obviously have signed Molo. Where do you stand as a fan between Adam Clune and Corey Norman? Who would you prefer in the six? Because I know Norman's basically walked back in this week. I thought Clune was one of your better players on the weekend, if I'm honest. So I think it was a bit harsh, but who would you prefer at the six jersey?
I have to say I don't prefer either of them. I think now is as good a time as any to put Jaden Sullivan in. He is a smaller body, but he's younger. He's got more capacity for growth, whereas and not just physically, also in ability and between the ears, and get to that 50 game mark as quickly as possible when he's young, to become an experienced regular first grader. As far as Clune, yes, he did well in attack. He's a very no-frills player, and he did get trampled a couple of times, which led to tries. Like, it was just like a little kid, like pushing your little nephew out of the way to score, and it was, we talk about the edges. That's an issue. Now, Norman is the other way around. He's more lax, but he can tackle and he can hang on. He's got long arms. He can, what I mean? It's just, it is a real problem. Norman's first choice because of the salary cap. Our salary cap's severely imbalanced. It's far too much money in the halves. And we're feeling it elsewhere with the no frills forwards. But that's the reality of why he's been picked. But I think Jason Sullivan needs to be put in and get some NRL experience, at least as a 14 off the bench. at
No,
least.
massive
We're
raps
not
on
going
that
to win
kid.
the competition. Why not?
Massive raps on that kid, and I think the sooner you get him in, the better. You don't want to be chucking him in after 10 straight losses or something, and the poor kid's got nothing to do. He can't understand too much. So
Yeah. Or worse, lose him to a good team, and then they blood him and he becomes a superstar.
100%.
Which happens a lot. Yeah.
First of the Sunday games, and got the West Tigers against the Roosters. And to be honest, it's probably another one where you go, all right, why are you tipping the Roosters, and how many are they going to win by? For mine, I just want to quickly touch on something else, though. I want to touch on the Tigers. And I believe me and you have had conversations about them several times last year. I can't get a read on this mob. I just dead set. I actually had them being a really close top 8 team this year, and if edging into it, possibly. I really like their team, but they just don't know what there's just too many players that just have brain fades. Leilua on the weekend just lost his plot once again, and he had a big interview in the lead up saying how much he wants to prove Ricky Stewart wrong, blah blah blah. Well, you've just proved him right. Haven't proved him wrong. For mine, I'm not a fan of Luke Brooks. Luke Brooks has been there for, almost 10 years now, and he hasn't got him to a final series. Don't worry about going close to winning a comp. He hasn't got him to a final series yet. How someone can stay at a club for that long, that is ridiculous. Where do you see the Tigers at the moment, Sid? I just don't think – I think they're that far away from being a proper team and a contended top 4 team that the players there have almost taken the piss, to put it bluntly.
Yeah, look, I always had a soft spot for the Tigers myself. And I always think, like you, that maybe this year they'll do something, maybe this year they'll do something, But as far as your brain fades, 100%, 100% right. I saw the Leilua thing, and also Luke Brooks kicking out in the full at the wrong time or doing the wrong kick. He went long when they had 3 players on one out wide and stuff like this. That's your general. That's your main man. It's not like, it's nothing personal about the guy, but he's maybe he's just not cut out. And the reason he's been there that long, he got this lucrative contract because if you remember, Luke Brooks, Mitchell Moses, Aaron Woods, and one other, and they called him Big Four. Oh, it was Teddy, of course. And yeah, let's not forget that guy, right? Best player in the world, and then they were panicking. The Tigers were panicking because they lost Tedesco very early. Then something happened with Mitchell Moses. I can't remember the exact timeline or chain of events, but they had to tie up, and then they managed to keep, Woods for big dollars. So probably got the Brooks. They kept Brooks, but along with Woods, probably were the bottom 2 out of the so-called Big Four.
Yeah.
And then Woods left anyways.
They put himself against a wall with that situation. And for mine, Brooks, the best thing, if I was Brooks' manager, I would tell him right now, go to England for 2-3 years, win some games and make yourself look like a king over there, because he will. He's a little bit above that level, and it is a pretty easy comp for players like his level to go over there. If anything, come back once you're edging 30 to steer potentially a team around for a couple of years. Once you've got some confidence back up, and he just has no confidence whatsoever. So I asked you, Roosters by how many?
Okay. The only hope, I'm just going to put this out there because of the weather in Sydney as well. If it's an atrocious slosh fest where it's just muddy, when you eventually can't see the numbers on the shirts, then Tigers have some chance, because in a grind they're all right. It's when the other team starts throwing it and they can't keep up with them, and they try to throw it around, and they just don't have the strike to match that sort of style. That's the only chance in hell that I could see the Tigers coming close to them. But if the Roosters do what Roosters do, probably looking at about 20, 26, 24 point margin, I would say. They're a 4-try better team, let's just say that.
There is some key players missing for the Roosters. Obviously, got Crichton's out for a week suspension. You've got the Jake Friend head knock, which we applaud the Roosters once again for how they're handling that. We hope, just quickly on the record, hope he is all right. And if it is his last game, which there is rumours floating around, we hope he's looks after himself and puts and his family first. That's the most important thing. But they have quality. They add quality to it, and they've still got your Kiris, your Tedescos, your Morris brothers, your Manus. The list goes on. I just think it'll be Roosters by about 20. But whether it is a worry. But for mine, that also plays. That's not good for the Tigers. They need to play a little bit of footy to beat this mob. And last game, Sharks and the Raiders. Who are you going on this one?
I think Raiders are too professional. They're a professional outfit. They've been together for a number of years. Sharks will try to go blow for them. Raiders have a little bit better defense. I would say about 10-point better team.
Yeah, I'd say. I think everyone forgot just how good Josh Hodgson was, and the second half of last weekend showed how crucial and important he is to this Raiders team, and why, for mine, I think they're in the top 3 teams of the year to really go at it. And they weren't good in the first half. They weren't that good. They let the Tigers in the game and kept them in the game, but they came out of the sheds. Obviously, Tigers did make a few stupid errors, but they capitalised and they just went bang, 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 and all of a sudden they were up by 18 odd points. So I think the Raiders, even if it's wet, I think that suits them. They love the bash and barge, and their team suits that. So Raiders by 12 or so for mine. And yeah, I think I got 7 out of 8 last week. How'd you go?
No comment. I went for too many. It's a little bit of a lottery for me.
You went the early upsets.
I went a lot of upsets. Yeah. I got 3 from 8.
Well, look, this is the OGs episode, guys. I hope you really enjoyed the OGs, and we're leading from the front, captain and vice captain. We'll try and bring the boys back. I don't know where they are, but we'll catch Dane partying and we catch the other boys. I don't know what they're doing. They're already at Belmore, I heard, so that they're ready for the next game there. But OG Sid, thanks for coming on. A final message for the fans.
Look, enjoy your footy. It was so good to see the crowds back. The game you went to, I think, was close to capacity. The game in Newcastle, gotta love the Novocastrians. They're going to turn up if their team comes last for 20 years straight. They were there out in force again. It was a really good Cogra. Had a crowd as well. It's just great. Just enjoy your footy. Be safe. Look after each other. Don't sneeze on each other. If you're crook, stay home. And let's keep that stupid virus out of our lives.
Thanks, Dr. Sid. And it's wet weather footy this weekend, so if you're a punting man, bet responsibly, but go for the unders option. Cheers, guys.